Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Lights Out podcast. It's your boy here today. We're going to be talking good amount of boxing. We've had some interesting announcements take place. We also have the July matchups of the month to go over. Unfortunately, my partner and my co-host Ant will not be with us again today, but he did say he will be back on the next episode. We're looking forward to having him. Keep him in your prayers nonetheless, and we're going to miss him greatly today. Nonetheless, man, we don't have too much to get into. There's quite a few announcements. Some of them are interesting. As previously stated, I do want to start today's episode by going over the July matchups of the month, as there are some good ones in here, and we'll go ahead and scope out what July is going to look like for us. The first two fights on the July matchups of the month have already happened. Okay, there was a 4th of July card put on by Top Rank, and the main event and co-main event of this show, labeled The Fight, were the first two fights on the July matchups of the month. We'll start with the co-main. We were able to see the number 3 featherweight in the world, Bruce Carrington, defeat Rene Palacios by decision as he retained the WBC featherweight championship in the co-main. And then to kick off the July matchups list is the main event of quote unquote The Fight, as we saw the hometown boy in Cleveland, Ohio, the number 5 lightweight in the world, Abdullah Mason, defeat Albert Bell by knockout to retain the WBO lightweight title. Now, Carrington in that co-main, he really did handle his business. You know, there was nothing too spectacular about it. He was very dominant and he did his thing. It was great. However, that main event between Abdullah Mason and Albert Bell was a different story. The scorecard they were showing during the main event had the challenger, Albert Bell, the unranked challenger, Albert Bell, with a win in the first 6 rounds. He was up 10-9 in the first 6 rounds, according to the commentary and the scorecards that are available for the audience that is watching. After that 6th round, though, Abdullah Mason dominated. He had his back against the wall. He couldn't afford to lose one more round. So from round 7 to 11, it was all Abdullah Mason getting a victory in each and every round between round 7 and 11. So here came the final round. Abdullah Mason had to win this final round in order to be even considered for victory when it came to the decision. But it didn't come to the decision, as Albert Bell was knocked down. Albert Bell was knocked down. He got back up. He was knocked down once again, and at this second time was when the ref waved it off. Now, unfortunately, yes, I do think it was a bad stoppage. Most of the consensus in the world of boxing thinks that the stoppage for Mason versus Bell was a bad stop. But I don't think it was going to change the outcome, to be completely honest with you. And I think that the performance that Abdullah Mason put on after soundly being defeated in the first 6 rounds by his challenger was very interesting, very fun to watch, very inspiring even. If you're not an Abdullah Mason fan yet, go watch this fight. If you haven't already, you'll be an Abdullah Mason fan now, just as I am. But yeah, I will admit it was a bad stoppage, and it's unfortunate because we end up talking about this stuff a lot, the bad stoppages, like it takes away from good fights. It took away from Usyk versus Verhoeven at Glory and Giza, the heavyweight champion of the world versus the kickboxing heavyweight champion. The bad stoppage took away from that fight. This fight is the same case. Fantastic fight. Abdullah Mason loses the complete first half of the fight, cannot afford to lose another round, mounts an incredible comeback, winning every round. We get to the 12th round, and he gets the knockout. It's like, dude, I'm sure that Abdullah Mason was going to win and complete his comeback. The ref doesn't need to insert himself and stop the fight ridiculously early or without any precaution. Anywho, those are the two fights. Those are the two first fights of the July matchups of the month, brought to us by Ring Magazine. Seeing Abdullah Mason and Bruce Carrington retain their belts at quote unquote the fight, a 4th of July top rank event. And we don't see any other fights on this matchups of the month list until the 20th of July. And this next one is coming out of Japan. It's Kenshiro Terahi taking on Israel Gonzalez for the vacant WBO junior bantamweight title. That'll come to fruition on the 20th. The real fun happens between the 24th and the 26th, which is a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. So really, we started off July hot with this top rank event on the 4th of July. Good main event, solid co-main event. And we're not really going to have any boxing to talk about until one of the last weekends of July. On the 24th, we will see Tyson Fury taking on Mariusz Wach. I hope I said that name correctly. It's kind of a stay busy fight for Tyson Fury, but who doesn't like watching Tyson Fury? Let's be real. Okay, the very next day, we will see his end of year opponent, Anthony Joshua, take on Christian Prenga. Okay, and the co-main is set for this big fight as well. This big show and this big main event between Joshua and Prenga is being labeled the comeback. And the co-main will be Josh Kelly defending the IBF junior middleweight title against Xiaohim Agyarko. All right. And then that same day on the 25th, we have our next show from PBC, our next show from Premier Boxing Champions, which is a fun USA versus Australia main card. We have 3 fights here on this main card. All USA versus Australia. Main event is Errol Spence Jr. versus Tim Tszyu. Okay, co-main will be Jermall Charlo versus Cohen Mazadier. Hope I said that right. And then we have Stephen Fulton taking on Liam Wilson. All 3 of these fights are USA versus Australia. Another fun PBC card. Should be a good time. This is the 3rd big PBC card of the year. Definitely looking forward to it. And last but not least, on Sunday the 26th, we have Zuffa Boxing 9 coming out of New York. We have Edgar Berlanga taking on Stephen Butler. And then we have in the co-main Richardson Hitchens taking on Ricardo Salas. Okay. So just to reiterate here, we've had our first 2 fights of the July matchups of the month. Okay. On the 20th, we will be crowning a WBO junior bantamweight champion between Taraji and Gonzalez. And then 24th, 25th, and 26th has some heaters. 24th, we'll see Tyson Fury with a stay busy fight. 25th, we'll see Anthony Joshua versus Christian Prenga. Also on the 25th, Errol Spence Jr. versus Tim Tszyu. And then on the 26th, we have Zuffa Boxing 9, which has the last 2 matchups of the month here for July. The Edgar Berlanga fight against Stephen Butler, first ever super middleweight fight in Zuffa Boxing. They said they didn't want to have any junior divisions. I guess they're going back on that with Berlanga, as he will be fighting Stephen Butler at the super middleweight bout, the super middleweight level, I should say. And then, yes, that co-main rounds out the July matchups of the month between Richardson Hitchens and Ricardo Salas, which I'm very excited for. A 12-round welterweight fight. Should be a good time. I know I said that we're not going to see boxing until one of the last weekends of July, but that doesn't mean we don't have UFC to talk about. Okay. We will be back next week to go over UFC 329, which will see the return of Conor McGregor in the main event, taking on the number 4 welterweight in the world, Max Holloway. Very exciting fight there. Co-main is a top 6 lightweight matchup between Benoit Saint Denis and Paddy Pimblett, Paddy the Baddy. Okay, we also have a top 7 bantamweight matchup, Corey Sandhagen versus Mario Batista. And then we have a top 6 flyweight matchup as well, Brandon Royval versus Leonard Kavanagh. And then the opening bout of the main card for UFC 329 will be King Green versus Terrence McKinney, which is not ranked at all, but it is a very entertaining fight. The only non-ranked fight in this thing is a very entertaining fight. King Green and Terrence McKinney. I'm excited for UFC 329, man. The return of Conor McGregor is widely slept on right now. Whether you love him or you love to hate him, it's going to be an excellent return. Max Holloway is an excellent opponent for him right now who could really use this win. Obviously, Conor McGregor could really use this win as well. Going to be a good time. Gonna be a good time. I'm excited next episode to talk UFC 329, and hopefully I won't be alone. I'll have my co-host Ant back with me. Yes. So we will talk about that more when it comes. We will analyze and review that when we are done watching it. And before we get out of here, I want to get through 3 different announcements. Well, 2, really. We already talked about the Tyson Fury one, so we only have 2. Okay. We will have Vito Malnicki taking on Ammo Williams. That fight was announced for September 5th. Going to be a fun time. I know that Ammo Williams lost a big middleweight title fight to Carlos Adames very recently, but he's back and he will face Vito Mielnicki, who is making his Matchroom debut. And then we also have, what's interesting here is last episode we talked about Moses Itauma setting up a fight. It's confirmed Moses Itauma will take on Filip Hrgović, which will be a number 6 versus a number 5 in the heavyweight division. Will be a very fun time. But the IBF has actually ordered for Moses Itauma to take on Frank Sanchez for the IBF heavyweight title. Obviously, Itauma already has a scheduled fight against Hrgović, so maybe we'll see this fight later down the line after Itauma has this fight against Hrgović. But we'll see. You know, there's always the possibility that the IBF kind of gets that fight between Itauma and Hrgović canceled with their order, and then we see Itauma versus Sanchez for the IBF heavyweight title. It's confusing, it's weird, but at the end of the day, fans, like, it's a win-win situation. Whether Itauma faces Filip Hrgović or whether Itauma faces Frank Sanchez is beyond me. Okay, both are fantastic fights. Both are really excellent fights. It's a win-win situation. We'll see what happens with that. But honestly, guys, that's all I got for you. We don't have too much this week. We don't have too much. We'll have time to exclusively focus on UFC 329 in the next episode. I look forward to having my co-host back with me because I think that having Ant here really makes the show. His presence is absolutely missed on days like this. But nonetheless, man, we keep it rolling. We keep you posted. And we make boxing accessible for you, the fan. That's what we do with the Lights Out podcast. That's what we do, baby. All right, man. That's all I got for you today. I will talk to you guys soon. I will talk UFC 329 soon next week. Be good and be happy. We'll have Ant back next week. Rest in peace to the big homie Carlos Carrasco and all that other good stuff. Peace out, baby.